New this morning, when you call 911, how long it takes to get an answer can be the difference of life or death. And here in Tucson, there's a growing problem with delays when making those calls. KGUN 9's Bree Pacelli went inside the 911 dispatch center on the Tucson south side to get some answers to your questions.
Emergency dispatchers handle thousands of calls every day across Tucson and Pima County, but with high call volumes, many residents are noticing longer wait times when calling 911. I spoke to a couple dispatchers here at Tucson's 911 center to find out why.
Our call processing times have actually improved. They're better than they were a year ago at this time.
Jeff Kuhn, Deputy Director with Public Safety Communications, says that calls are now meeting the national standard for response times, averaging 15 seconds, and they are able to meet that goal about 70% of the time. However, he explains that some delays are inevitable under certain circumstances.
It's also important to remember during those influx of calls, if it's in a public area, you're probably not the only person calling.
The center currently employs 154 dispatchers, but they are always looking to expand as the job can be demanding.
A lot of the management of the stress comes from having some ability to separate a little bit between what happens at work and obviously what you do with yourself when you're at home. The hardest calls are definitely the child CPR calls because it's really hard to try to give somebody that instruction when they're having, you know, a very visceral emotional reaction to what's happening.
They say peak hours for 911 calls are typically between 2 and 7 p.m. with dispatchers handling calls in about 3 minutes.
The call taker on average receives about 130 to 150 calls per day.
The training for this job doesn't come easy. The whole process could take up to 6 months. The goal is to make it as realistic as possible.
So everything that they do feels exactly how it's going to feel. So it doesn't make as much of a big impact when they go and they see, you know, what does this look like compared to just 2 computer screens.
Tucson's call centers also offer a non-emergency line 311 where residents can be directed to the appropriate resources without having to dial 911. Right now, the center is actively recruiting for non-emergency 311 operators, and in January, there will be an open enrollment for 911 operators. Reporting near Park and Ajo, Bree Pacelli, KGUN 9.